Premier League games to look forward to this weekend, and over the next hour we'll analyse and dissect some of the key issues around those. So let's have a look at those fixtures then. Right at the very top you can see it's Sheffield United against Liverpool. Liverpool, by the way, have never won at Bramall Lane in the Premier League. Maybe this is the time that will change. They've been in irresistible form lately, we shall see. Bournemouth against West Ham's a big game. Of course, both teams getting knocked out of the Carabao Cup in midweek, so they want to get back to winning ways. Tottenham Hotspur also going out to Colchester in the League Cup in midweek. They'll be at home to Southampton. Everton at Goodison have to respond. They've been a little bit in and out recently. They're up against the champions at Manchester City. On Sunday, a good game between Leicester and Newcastle. And then on Monday night, we've got Manchester United against Arsenal. And just to whet your appetite, have a little look at this.
History brought them together. Brilliance set them apart. Year after year, clash after clash. This was a rivalry like no other.
He's missed a game!
But now the glory days are a distant memory.
Two of the biggest clubs in football.
Reputations are on the line. Can United's new boys rise to the occasion? Or will the Gunners silence the theatre of dreams?
It's Manchester United against Arsenal.
And joining me in the studio, Spurs legend and former England boss Glenn Hoddle. Glenn, great to see you. We're going to focus straight away on that Manchester United and Arsenal encounter next Monday. Just briefly, where are both teams right now for you? Where are they?
Well, I think they're way off where they were years ago, that's for sure. On them clips that we've seen, they've got a lot of work to do. Particularly, I think, let's take Manchester United. They're in a similar boat, both teams. But, you know, there's a rebuild going on there. And I think if you cast your mind back, Andy, to yesteryear when Sir Matt Busby left the club, how the turmoil United were in for year after year.
Right. It was a few years, wasn't it?
Yeah, and the success that he brought and the style of play. There was always, I felt, after Sir Alex Ferguson left, there was always going to be a similar sort of era. And it's panning out that way, and it's going to be tough for United to get back to the very, very best.
As for Arsenal, just quickly, what have you made of Unai Emery so far?
I think attacking-wise, fantastic. They look like they can go and score at any given time. They're going to cause people problems attacking-wise. Defensively, they're poorer than last year. I didn't think they were very good last year. Their back four was better last year than it is now, and that's after buying players and bringing a new system in. So the bottom line is that they're going to let goals in. They're going to win 4-3 or lose 4, win or lose 4-3. End of story. Let's
have a look, Glenn. We'll focus first and foremost on United. Let's have a look at what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer may be going with. Now, of course, this is we're just presuming here. Obviously, we've got Mason Greenwood, a young forward at the moment, because no Marcus Rashford. Anthony Martial may be back this Monday. We're not quite sure. Jesse Lingard fit again, but has been a little bit in and out so far. But if that was the team, Glenn, strengths of that team?
Well, the fact that Greenwood's come in, and it's almost like looking at Rashford when he first come in. He's free. He's got freedom at the moment. You know, if he gets in the team and he starts playing well after a season, that's when it comes on his shoulders. Right. The pressure builds up, and we see whether he really is the real deal. He looks really fantastic, doesn't he? Plays off both feet. So he's going to be free to play, and it's nice to have a player in. When your club's under pressure a little bit, you've got a couple of youngsters in there that are just going and expressing themselves, and that's what Rashford did. The midfield, if Pogba comes in there, at the moment, you've got to get the best out. How you sit him down, talk to him, because this fella can play. United fans and players, they're all saying, like, we need a creative midfield player. You got one. Get the best out of him. When he plays for France, he's excellent. His head is telling me that he doesn't want to be at United for some reason.
Does he need... I mean, I know it wouldn't be Juan Mata, but do they need to start thinking about him here, Glenn, or do you prefer him from behind the ball a little bit?
Yeah, I prefer him in the 8, what we call the 8.
Yeah.
That wouldn't suit Mata, obviously, but a holding player, like he did at Juventus.
Yeah,
played
off one side slightly.
Exactly, so he can go and play and get into the penalty area. Yeah. He can get into the box,
So from that sort of area, a little bit more, he can drift in here.
Freedom to go and play with a holder behind him. You know, he can dog it, he can get back in there and really put himself about. He's a physical specimen.
He is.
Yeah, but I want to see him hitting passes in this part of the pitch, in the last third, and arriving in the penalty area, scoring goals.
Do you think he gets a lot of... I personally think he gets a lot of unfair stick in terms of every time he doesn't perform to a 9 out of 10, people are quick to jump all over him.
Yes, and why is that? Because United are not a 9 out of 10 team. So if you've got world-class players all around you, he'll just fit in lovely, and he's a part of that. At the moment, the focus, when Pogba plays, you think, who's the best player they got? Pogba. When he's on his game. So everyone's focusing on him. And if he gives the ball away and they end up having a shot at goal, it's analysed. So he's the one player that everyone's looking at. Manchester United in yesteryear had fantastic players all over the pitch. So he would be under that radar a little bit. But at the moment, the lad James has come in and hit the road running. Yes. Fantastic. But whenever Pogba puts a shirt on, the focus is on him. You know, when there was Cantona, Beckham, Scholes, Keane. Giggsy. At the moment, because the team are not doing so well, it's, can you get us out of trouble? Everything you do, Pogba, is going to be analysed.
You would have experienced, you played in a good Tottenham team, but you would have experienced that feeling of the minute your own game dropped a little bit, Glenn, people quick to criticise and to jump on you. And how difficult is that sometimes to handle?
You have to be strong mentally, because if there's expectations on a player that high, the minute you drop from them, you can't, if you're a creative player, like Pogba is, and if you're expected to create goals, score goals, do a little bit for the team as well defensively, the all-round midfield player as it is today, you're going to be analysed, you're going to be looked at. You've got to be strong enough that when it's not going, you can't do it every week.
No.
It's impossible to be that. Even, you know, if you're Messi, you might, because you're playing in a position where you haven't got to defend, and Ronaldo, the same thing. He's a different player playing in a different part of the pitch.
Yeah.
But you've got to expect to say, right, when I'm not playing well, I'm going to still make the difference. I'm going to make 2 great passes in the game. I'm not on song today, but I have to be strong enough mentally that I'm going to make 2 great passes, or I'm going to get the goal, I'm going to get the free kick that on the edge of the box that wins us the game.
Yeah.
But when he's on song and he's running the show, which he does for France, that's fantastic. That's great. That's when he's at his very best. But if you're that type of player, that's what you've got to achieve. You can't have the pressure on your shoulders expecting to play 90 minutes, week in and week out, and control the game every you can't do it. It's impossible.
Let's have a look, Glenn, at the way that United, some of their play that we saw, particularly against West Ham. Now, the one thing that, a word that is often used by fans everywhere nowadays, what's our identity? Yeah. What kind of a team are we? Well, what are Manchester United at the minute, Glenn? Now, here we've got a situation which we're seeing a lot, and we're going to come on to this a bit more in the programme today, about this situation where, because of the rule changes, you can now get the ball off your goal in your own 18-yard box. But when United pick the ball up here, De Gea gives it to Lindelof. Now, from this sort of scenario, Glenn, usually, if you're going to do this, there's got to be a method, ultimately, to get Juan Mata or Pereira or your strikers involved in the game. Something's got to happen, take place in these areas in order to be able to transfer the ball up here. But I don't quite know if the United players have got the understanding of that.
No, there's not a theme behind it. It's all right passing out from the back, but you've got to have a situation where maybe, you know, there's a little bit of space coming out here that Maguire then ends up, sorry, Miara's not great.
That's all right.
He goes into a wide position, and this player comes into there, drops in there.
Drop that back, Glenn. Hold on, do that again.
So he would drop into there.
So he'll come there.
Yeah.
Maguire, you're saying, will go here.
Yeah, that's not happening.
Right.
That's not happening, as you can see. The other problem, Andy, for me, if you're playing against Manchester United, no disrespect to these lads on the ball, you cut off this half of the pitch. So you allow Lindelof and Wan-Bissaka to have the ball. They're going to come out, by hook or by crook, they're going to come out this side of the pitch. You lock off the other side and you make them come out this way. Because you know Maguire is good on the ball. He'll pick your pocket, he'll play balls into midfield where they'll go and hurt you. No disrespect, he's a good defender, but these lads are not that good on the ball.
Unai Emery, next Monday, if he's been tuned in to watching this, he might allow this sort of situation to happen. Because if we run this on, Glenn, you'll see that Lindelof's looking, he's not...
Things can happen from there.
Correct. I just thought here, again, because McTominay's not a natural runner with the ball, I just think drop that off, Glenn, and then get yourself someone, get into a wider edge, start to just mix things up. If you watch how this develops...
Andy, what you've just said there is a simple run.
It is, isn't it?
Stick it and get behind.
And get round.
By making an overlap, you make an extra player. He becomes an extra player. So you're 4v4, but suddenly he gives the ball to Mata, or if Mata wants to go round the back of that defender,
do something like
suddenly making that movement in a strange way makes an extra player, you know,
whereas
stretches them.
Here, West Ham can sort of box that off,
all
can't
inside. They're all looking inside. It needed Rashford to bend his run and go out wide. Look how they all go down the same channel.
And
they've all gone to the same, there's no communication and there's no identification of what was needed at the right time from the players, and that's the quality of a player.
Is that something that the best players, do the best players automatically do that, or are we programming players so much nowadays, Glenn, that we take away that kind of freedom, and therefore, and sometimes they can't quite think for themselves and see it for themselves?
It's recognising it. It's recognising in what's on at the time. There's no coach in the world would put a 4v4 on and say, right, you make that run, you make that run, and you can't do that. So it's down to the instinct and knowing what's right at the time. Rashford should be coming out wide, or Mata makes a run round the back of the fullback to spread and open up. They might not get the ball at the end of the day, but there'll be something else on, and that's United at the moment.
That's kind of quite basic, really. I want to go just have a look at some numbers here for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer since he signed his permanent deal, Glenn. There's been 14 matches in the league, 14 wins, 4 draws, 6 defeats, 15 scored, 20 have gone in the other end, only 2 clean sheets, which equates to 16 from 42 points. Now, of course, if you started to roll that out over the course of a season, they're going to be nowhere near it.
That's not good enough. It's as simple as that. And you understand why Manchester United fans are saying what they're saying. That isn't good enough. Ollie wouldn't be happy with that. But there's something's got to be done, that's for sure.
Jose had 21 points at this point. Van Gaal had 25.
There you go.
From that point. So clearly there's definite room for improvement.
It wouldn't be the first, but when you're a caretaker manager, it is different. It's different than when you've actually got the job. When you're caretaker manager, every player feels they've got a chance of being in the team. Suddenly he's the main manager. Teams are being picked. I don't fancy me. I'm out of it. So then you've got to manage that, obviously. But that's what happens when it all settles down and you become the permanent manager. There's a different energy about the group of players. Everyone's trying to hit him in the eye. Everyone's trying to get in the team. Someone who's been in the team has now got, I've got to start all over again to hit this new manager in the eye again. So you get that energy, that little curve of that, but then it all settles down. And Ollie's in this settling down period at the start of this season.
Right.
And there's a lot of work to be done.
There's a lot of ex-United players working in the media. Again, we work with a lot of them here. And of course, those that come out of that really super successful period for United. How difficult is it for Ollie now trying to get away from this? I mean, and he was part of this when he's playing with Cantona and he's playing with the very best players, and he's on the end of this and he's scoring a goal. How difficult to get that and try and get back in the real world?
Listen, these guys, look, there's Beckham there, hits a wonderful pass here, look, with runners, there's Giggsy. These are world-class players. You just, you don't wake up one day and you become a world-class player. These players have been at it in their Scholesy, wow, this is a completely different team. And will United ever get back to this type of performance? There's Ollie again, what a great ball, but the finish, even the thought of getting on the back of the defender when the ball was where he's expecting that because he's playing with world-class players. Yeah. And will United get to that? It's going to take a hell of a long time and a lot of hard work to get to that team again.
Ollie actually often, Glenn, he's saying, we're Man United, we have to be better than this. We're Man United, we have to be better than this. And I think that's just that's just part of his vocabulary now to kind of hark back to his time when they were so successful, but in some ways maybe he's making life more complicated for himself.
He is, because those players are not going to happen, overnight. They're not going to become those players like Keane and Scholes and Giggs and Beckham. It's a process that's going to take time. Man United fans, I'm afraid, you're going to have to get used to this. This is normal. For most clubs, this is what, for United for 20 years, they dominated. They've been used to winning things. Now they've had a few seasons where it hasn't quite gone as they want it to be. They've won the FA Cup and things, but it's not been what Man United is expected. There's going to be a period of time. They'll come back again. They're too big. Yeah. But I think it's going to take 2, 3, maybe even 4 seasons before, they can get the squad right. Everyone go, this is Man United. We come to town. We roll teams over. Yeah. I'm sorry, this team isn't good enough.
Look, if we actually look at United back then, and this would probably be, Glenn, this would be Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's strongest team if everyone was fit and well and available. I would imagine. Maybe Jesse Lingard, you could argue for Mata, potentially, maybe, whatever. But when you analyse the team of then, you mentioned about the 6 up front. or the six forward players.
Yeah.
And even the likes of Schmeichel, a massive leader, Dennis Irwin, arguably one of the best fullbacks the Premier League's ever seen, along with Gary Neville. Stam, you know, phenomenal physical presence. Ronnie Johnson, regular, solid as a rock.
And then you had also people that came in after, you know, Rio Ferdinand, you had Vidic, you know, but those six attacking players are frightening. If you're playing against them every week, and I had teams that went to Old Trafford, and, you know, if you were 1-0 up with a 3 minutes to go and injury time, you thought, you're thinking, if we come out here with a win, it's all right, yeah, we'll be happy. Because you know you can lose. You don't get that feeling now.
No.
You see people leaving the stadium now with 2 minutes to go at Old Trafford. That was never before. They've gone. They're down the road. But it's completely different. But the basis of that attacking six was they had that solid five. They had the goalkeeper and a back four that could deal with one-on-ones. They could deal with being outnumbered because they defended it right.
Yeah.
And winners on the pitch and off the mentally, Keeney, Scholes, you know, all players that strong-willed, strong-minded, to that if they were having a bit of a bad time,
anything in here could have gone and played in that company. Well, I mean, he was around at that time, but Sir Alex obviously saw something he didn't like, and he was a lot younger.
I mean, don't forget these guys that came in, Beckham and Scholesy and Gary Nev, and they weren't that. The clip that we saw, there was years of work for them to get to their peak.
Correct.
We're looking at a team that was in their peak.
Yeah.
You know, it's a little bit unfair to go up against the team now.
Yep.
But what I'm saying is, will this team ever become that? No.
Yes.
I don't see that. Not this set of 11, best 11 that we're looking at here.
Right.
I think the young lad James has come in and really looked good.
He has.
Really good. And if he takes that on, but as you would know, Andy, for youngsters like Rashford, you come in, it's all new, it's fresh, everyone's saying what a great player. Greenwood would experiencing that now. James has got, it's when the second season comes along, can you consistently keep doing it?
Yeah.
When people know your game.
Yeah.
Can you sort that out? When you've had an injury to come back from, can you actually hit the road running and get yourself playing at your very best again as quick as you can?
They're up against an Arsenal team on Monday night that have got their own issues, Glenn. Mm-hmm. And one area in particular where they seem to get themselves in a muddle, lo and behold, is the rule change where now, of course, you can knock the ball to any of your own players from a goal kick inside the box. Now, just on this still here, we can see Leno with Socrates and David Luiz, fullbacks in sort of wide areas, two midfield players here, and then Ceballos and Aubameyang and Pepe and co, free up front. But Liverpool, Glenn, more importantly, are sitting there waiting and just they're saying, please do that, or please do that, and then we're going to go after you.
One of the teams away from home at Anfield, why would you play that way? Why would you start the game playing that way? Because they are so good. They're setting traps for them.
They are.
And they are so good at that front three, the energy that they've got. At Anfield, if you're at home maybe, but away from home, I don't understand sometimes I see games. It's almost like Vogue. Everyone's got
it's fashionable now.
Yeah, everyone's got to pass out from the back. Man City are the only team that really do it correct and get it all right in behind.
So we see here, look, the goal is almost like there's a reluctance to do it anyway.
Straight away.
Now Salah's on top of Luiz. He knocks a 40-yarder diag, trying to find that pocket, and the ball gets turned over.
Well, the thing is as well, if you go long from there, if you're having your centre-backs that far back in the pitch, when you do go long, whether it's a goalie or a defender, look how open you are. You're playing a 50-50 game. If you win that ball, you can attack with some space. But if you lose that ball, my word, away from home, you're in trouble. Away from home at Watford again, a similar thing. Look at this. There's no options there. Football's about doing the right thing at the right time. Why would you try and pass that ball into...
A straight ball, Glenn, on the edge of your own box is any midfield player's nightmare. It's the worst ball to receive.
At 13, at 14, you'd be taught not to do that.
You're taught, absolutely. I mean, look, if Socrates here decides, actually, I'll go to Xhaka, well, maybe if he's brave enough and good enough to find that.
Or the angle there, Andy. If the fullback makes an angle,
but
you
to
get
do
out.
this...
that is unbelievable.
Was just incredible, wasn't it?
Well, it was. You're just handing people goals on a plate. And how many times are you going to pass from that position and get a shot in and score at the other end?
Well, we got
I'm not sure.
Got some numbers here, Glenn, on the amount of these short goal kicks that Arsenal are actually taking at the moment. They top the charts significantly at the moment by this insistence on doing that. And if you're setting up again, for United next weekend, one area that Ollie will definitely be working on is laying the trap for this again, won't he?
Well, you've got Arsenal laying the trap for United. And the vice versa, because if they're going to play that way, you lay your traps, and you make sure the player that's not comfortable on the ball, who's going to be a risk taker, have the ball more often than not. So you can lay traps. The only thing with this stat is how many. I want to see how many times they have a shot at goal or they score a goal. That would be 0, 0, 0, 0 probably. If it was Man City, you'd probably get a little bit of change out of that. But is it worth doing?
I don't see it, Glenn, personally. I'm with you. I don't. The risk v reward equation doesn't work out to me.
Can I just go on to that, showing what can be done differently?
Well, look, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll do that. Let's do that now, and I'll get the teams up. There we go. Let's get the counters up, and actually, I know that you've got your own ideas on the way to do this. I'm going to take the names off, Glenn, so as we've just got some discs, because the names are irrelevant. It's the thought process.
That's where the fullbacks.
Well, at the moment, let's just do what they're doing at the minute.
Yeah, they're going to there,
They're coming here, aren't they? Right? At the moment, they're doing this, and then midfielders are kind of lurking on the edge of their own 18-yard box, trying to free someone up in here, and these three are kind of left up to do their own thing.
And in some ways, last season, it was even worse, because the centre-backs were coming into this position, 3 yards from the byline. But now they're allowed to go in there. OK, it's still a risk. But what's wrong with moving these players up?
So get them all up a little bit, get them out of their box.
What's wrong with these? You know, strikers go to sleep anyway.
Right.
They switch off.
They do.
So these two, what's wrong with them coming up? The keeper's got it, you know, as a goal kick, and they spin out and they come back towards their goal. The goalkeeper now can pass him the ball.
Yeah, he can do that.
As well as outside. It doesn't have to go outside the box now, but he passes the ball goes back to the goalkeeper. But the interesting thing now is the goalie's engaged on the penalty spot.
Right.
He's engaged possibly there. Now, if the striker goes and presses him, that's when the defender then makes an angle. He's now 18 yards up the pitch rather than 2 yards
being stuck on the byline
or there next to his 6-yard box.
And then that way, then you think that might be a way of developing that new idea. Yeah, well, you've not seen anyone do that.
No, I've not seen anyone do it. But the goalkeeper now is engaged with his centre forward. He's engaged to clip that ball. It's a lot easier for him than being in his 6-yard box when the player gives him it back because he's panicked, because they've set traps for him. He's now in the 6-yard box clearing balls, and you're open. Why not, even if you lose the ball, you've got your defenders here quicker to make a shape of your back four. So, you know, if they don't go with you and you spin back here and the ball goes there, you're in a nice, comfortable position. If strikers go asleep and there's no pressure, the goalkeeper comes to the edge of his box and then you play from there. That's when your midfield start making little movements.
And you're getting the ball on the diagonal, Glenn, rather than that straight one that we saw.
And then teams start saying, we can't press them. We'll let you out, because if we do that,
they'll find a way out.
They're finding it easier to get out. So then you're asking a question of your opponents to how you're going to press us then. You know, and have the confidence on these pitches as well, Andy. Have the if you're going to give a player a ball there in your 6-yard box, you can pass him the ball there, and he can slide it back to your goalkeeper. That's not a problem. Years ago when we played, it was bobbling. You couldn't do that.
Have you seen many teams? Many teams being ultra successful at doing this? Spurs a couple of years ago, when when Eric Dyer used to drop in and they go from a back four to a three, and the wing backs used to go. I can remember Spurs kind of doing that. In fact, I sat behind Kieran Trippier at City last season, and Lloris kept giving the ball to Davinson Sanchez in this area here, Glenn, where you're just saying. Lloris was doing that to him, and he was finding it difficult. He didn't quite have the tools really to find that part. And I said to Kieran Trippier, why does that happen? He said the manager is insistent that we do it. Right, absolutely insistent. Now, there's an example from a little while ago. We've got where Manchester City scored one of the best goals a couple of years ago up at Goodison. Where now, of course, we've got centre halves outside of the box, as the rules were then, Glenn. We've got 3 Everton strikers, or Everton players there, with 2 midfield players, all squeezing, ready for this little ball here or here. Now, you're looking at that
space.
I know. There's a big space there. Now, City had, obviously what we didn't know, and what Everton most certainly didn't know, that they worked on this. They dragged them under the ball, Glenn. Yeah. Come on, we're going to play short. And then just watch 3 players, Sterling, Sane and De Bruyne. Watch those guys. When Ederson doesn't play it short, he goes long.
Look at De Bruyne making the ground up. Look, that's beautiful skill. You can't do that on the training ground. You don't know if that's going to happen, but that's by design. Watch Sane's reaction to the bench.
Yeah.
That tells it. Yeah. They've done that on the training pitch.
Yeah.
And they're the only team, really, that play out from the back. But if it's, you know, every now and again, if that open space, they've created that open space for a reason.
Yeah.
They're doing it for a reason. You saw the movement. That is perfect.
That is brilliant, isn't it?
That probably gave Pep more satisfaction than any goal that season.
Yeah. When we look at the 2 teams again, Glenn, so we put them both back up now. And again, we don't know that these are the teams. But if we're assuming they're going to be something along these lines, what's your gut feeling for that fixture? What are you thinking? It's a difficult one to call because both teams have got flaws. Yeah. Both teams have got weaknesses. Both teams seem to be insistent on doing things that don't appear to be working at the minute.
It's got goals written all over it because there's attacking players and creative players on both sets of teams. Without a doubt, but the flaws, I've got to say, I think United's defence will slightly outdo Arsenal's. That could be a 2-2 draw. As I said earlier, it could be a 4-3. Which way it would go, I'm not sure. Arsenal at home will have the emphasis to go forward, and I think United will look to hit on the break and hit on the counter. But that depends. If they score first, Arsenal, what do? Can they hang on to a 1-0? No. The old 1-0 to the Arsenal has gone out the window years ago. So at the end of the day, I think there's goals. This fella is just different class. Aubameyang. Aubameyang could play in. See, we're talking about how many of those players United would go in at any other team in Europe. I'm not so sure. Pogba at his very best, maybe, but anyone else, I'm not sure. Maguire, possibly. Aubameyang would walk into
any team. He could lead the line anywhere, couldn't he?
Any team.
Because he scores goals, you're right, Glenn.
And he's